We're going to take these philosophies and we're going to unpack it here in a big way. And I'm going to start out, Jeremy, you were on the floor. I'm going to ask you the first question, if you don't mind. And I'm going to use a big word to start out: people business paradox. What that means, right? But you've been in the middle of scaling your business. And if you don't mind telling us how many employees you have now when you start to answer, because that makes you an expert in scaling businesses. But I'd love to have you explain what you think the people business paradox is when you're scaling businesses.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started, it's been about 15 years or so. 2011 is when I started the firm. We're now at about 60 people, including independent contractors. So we've had a lot of growth, and a lot of that has really accelerated in the past few years. As far as the people paradox, it's funny, just this week was talking to a doctor at an event, and I asked him, what's one of the biggest challenges your business is currently facing? And the first thing he said, well, you mean other than staffing? So, no one can escape that, right? And especially when you're in a services based business like we are, as far as being lawyers. Lawyers are doctors, especially. I mean, it affects every business, of course, whether you're building widgets, but especially I think in the services business. So some of the challenges is that, not only do we have a marketing department, we have a sales department, we have a accounting department, and a collections department, right? Just like any other business. But the product that we sell is the service that we deliver, right? It's done by a human, right? In the case of the medical doctor I was talking to, the client comes into the office to get the service. Our lawyers, they go to court. They are arguing or making arguments or advocating for their clients in front of a judge or a jury. If they're negotiating a settlement or trying to strike a deal, they're negotiating that with another person, another attorney, right? So we're talking to our clients on a daily basis. So kind of counterpose that to, I've got a cell phone, right? I've had this cell phone for about 5 years. I'm not one to get the latest and greatest model, although I think I'm due for a new model, but I've had this cell phone for 5 years. How many times have I talked to Apple in those 5 years? Well, I've probably talked to someone once or twice, but it probably wasn't Apple. It was probably T-Mobile, right? In 5 years. So that's, I think, is some of the difference between, our business and more of a products-based business, although we all face this sort of people paradox is how do we get the right people into our company? How do we train them, retain them, right? And make sure they fit into our culture. We continue to grow our culture when we're so heavily reliant, right, on our people. And so that's the challenge. In addition to that, I would say our revenue generation, right, is directly tied to our people as well. So if we have an attorney that's out sick, attorney that quits, or attorney that we have to let go, that revenue impact is felt immediately that day, right? So it's pervasive as far as how reliant we are on our people, and it's why it's so important that we have great people on our staff, but that we also are creating that culture to retain them and to allow them to be their best version, right? To continue to get better, to improve. So that's critical, but it is a big challenge for sure.